everybody? Welcome to our Author Live series right here on Amazon Live. I'm Albert Lawrence, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you all. I'm super duper amped because joining us today, we've got sisters and authors Melissa and Jessica Benoist. Make some noise in the chat if you're amped. I feel like it's so funny. I feel like the way that people
Woo!
make noise in the chat either by starting to follow and or saying things like OMGG, like Tindra's doing right now. Samantha, we see you saying hi already in the chat. This is, oh my gosh, sisters, this is going to be lit today. If you all aren't already familiar, then you may know actress Melissa from her roles in Supergirl, Glee, and Whiplash, and you may have read some of author Jessica's past comedic fiction books, but today their powers are united with us right here together. And you can find their latest book, Haven's Legacy. In fact, I've got mine right back here, which is book 2 from the Power series. That's available in the carousel either next to or below this video, depending on how you're joining us today. So, Melissa and Jessica, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. We're so happy to be here. Sisters
So,
unite.
oh my gosh, Sisters Unite. We're super duper thrilled. It's funny. So every time that I look over here on the side of my screen, I'm just seeing the chat popping. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to keep up with all of the comments and all the questions as they're coming in live, but we are absolutely going to do our best. So, friends, keep the questions, keep the comments coming on in because we're going to try to get as much of them shared with Melissa and Jessica as possible. So just keep on typing in the chat. Now, first off, actually, you know what? Melissa and Jessica, how do you feel about? I've got a bunch of questions, but how do you feel about us starting with a couple of viewer questions first?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay, sweet. All right. So, friends, now's your first opportunity to get your questions in. I'm looking in, and so I see a lot of compliments already from the jump. So Sophie is saying, "I love you guys." So is Avril. Scarlett is saying, "Melissa, you look so good." Mia is saying, "Jessica, your hair is gorgeous." So okay, we've got a lot of fans already clearly in the chat. Um, Yules is saying my favorite duo. So friends, and so okay, after we get past the fantastic compliments, I want to see some questions that you all might have about the book. So here we go. Avril says, "What is your favorite moment between Ellie and Parker in Haven's Legacy that you feel embodies sisterhood?" Hmm.
Hmm.
Melissa, maybe you want to start with this one, and then Jessica.
Um,
There's too many.
I know there are too many. I'm gonna have a hard time picking it. You know what moment I love in the book, and I gotta think. Jessica, you go first,
Okay.
because I can't pick.
That like immediately comes to mind, and I actually was thinking of doing this for a reading at some point, but like when it's right at the beginning of the book and Parker like shows Ellie her career list,
Mm,
and they're just kind of having this conversation where they're getting to learn like little details about each other's personality that maybe they hadn't touched base on yet, but they're also sort of reconciling everything that just happened in the first book and how that changed them because parts of their personalities almost flipped a little bit. Ellie's saying like Parker didn't used to be so open to things and so optimistic, and Parker's kind of saying like Ellie's a little more cautious, that Ellie's kind of looking at the details a little bit more than she used to. And I just love that because it shows that when they came together and balanced each other out, it did change them. It helped them grow into places where maybe they both needed a little bit of change, you know? I just like that.
I don't think I can give a better answer than that. I completely agree.
Sweet. I
Um,
love that you brought up the. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you about to share some more, Melissa?
no, I
No,
said something.
no,
I
go
just
ahead.
the other thing that just popped right into my head is the end, and I won't say anything like spoilery about the end, but we do sort of have like a moment that mirrors the ending of the first book, where it really just is about support, and I think that that's a really good lesson for any relationship, but especially siblings. Really, like, sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there and just like hold your sibling's hand and squeeze their hands and just let them know that you're there.
Mm,
So that always
Hmm.
sticks out in my mind
mm,
too.
mm. What a warm way for us to start the stream off. That's, and the fact that you brought up the career list, I've got a question about the career list a little later on. You may answer it before we even get there, but I really found the inclusion of that to be quite sincere and also really, really thought provoking. But for those of us, let's go backwards a little bit. For those who haven't read Haven's Legacy, can you tell us a little bit about it, and then also kind of in general, tell us a little bit about the Power series, period.
Well, our the Power series follows two sisters, Ellie and Parker, who have extraordinary powers that they discover in their adolescence, and they are kind of tied in with the natural world, and they kind of discover this whole world in. I'm so bad at this, Jessica.
Okay.
You're so much better at it than I am, and explain. I can't pitch things.
um, I don't know if I've mastered the art
I
of the
can't
pitch
do
either. I just start going off on long-winded explanations.
That's what I do
um,
too, and I stammer, and I'm just the most awkward. But
I think that you kind of nailed what this series is about. Like,
oh, there we go.
we have these twins and they realize that they have powers, and then they slowly start to realize that there's kind of this whole hidden world of twins, and sometimes not twins, who have similar powers to theirs, and it all has to do with sort of maintaining this balance with the human world and the natural world, and how there's kind of a growing disconnect between those two worlds. Um, so, so in the second book specifically is kind of them being thrown into that bigger world, and there's like a summer training camp that they need to go to because they need to basically finish the training, um, for their powers that they started in book one with their family. So so we kind of open up the world. We get to meet a lot of other kids and teenagers, um, that are on this same path as them.
I don't think that was long-winded. I think that was
Mm.
perfect.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Like I love that you duoed that together. You know what I'm saying? Listen, you started off with the pitch, Jessica. You came on in. You strengthened each other within it. It's beautiful. And by
I
the
needed
way,
it,
you've got a lot
clearly.
of folks in the chat. Yeah, you've got folks in the chat that are saying like, "Hey, you guys are doing perfectly with this. They're following along with you, and it's all for them anyway, so it works."
I'm
Um,
so glad.
so, but now, but now with a plot like that, it seems as though these books can touch people from all different generations. It seems as though there's quite a wide net there because there's this humanity that's connecting everyone. But for the two of you, when you wrote this book, who were you imagining that the series was for?
Well, I think yes, everyone for sure. But I think we also immediately knew that our protagonists were going to be young girls, because I think what's really important to us, aside from speaking to all audiences and kind of having a series that anyone can relate to, uh, I think something that's really important to us, that's always, is letting young women and girls hear often and loudly that they can do anything, and that they are worthy of all the things they want to do, and that they can be brave and strong and all the things, and just kind of uh, reaffirming that for young women. So I think it was never a question in our minds that our protagonists were going to be young women. But that being said, these books are, I'm proud of the fact that I feel like it could speak to just about everyone.
Sweet. We love that. Like, and it seems as though the passion that both of you have poured into this, it's brimming, and so I think that it's that passion that helps to just ignite the desire for anyone to be able to just jump into this world with the natural and the human, sometimes butting heads. But now, I want to think about like this collaboration, this spirit of sisterhood that you two just seem to create electricity with whenever you two even are on screen together right now. Who actually came up with the book series idea? Was this something where you both were sitting down for lunch? Were you at like a family dinner and you just started spitballing ideas? How did this come together?
It's hard to remember, right, Jess?
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
think
think
that
that
initially,
I
I
was
think we both kind
so
of knew that we wanted it to be like around the natural world and
yeah.
concerning nature and conservancy and like really speaking to uh, our earth and nature.
Mm.
Uh, it's so hard to pinpoint exactly when we came. I don't know. What were you gonna say, Jessica?
I think like I think the idea like to do it kind of came from you. Um, and I think we knew we wanted to do something together, and I think you were very much like, here's what's important to me,
Mm,
and this idea of like um not just like being connected to the natural world, but like this appreciation for, and one of the things I really like about book two is that they kind of travel around, and they travel in book one, they get to
Mm.
go to Haven, but then seeing different areas, and we use fictional towns, but we also kind of anchor them in real places and talk about the real landscapes. And so that idea of going out and seeing different parts of our, of the United States, but wherever you are, um, just appreciating that natural surrounding. And we definitely were kind of spoiled because we grew up in Colorado and there's just so many different like biomes to
Oh,
see. And
oh.
mhm.
we had grandparents who drove us around when we were little kids. I mean, you'd get in the car and say, um, let's go get a Burger King milkshake. And then 3 hours later, you're like, down in the desert 150 miles away because they thought of some national park or state park they wanted us to see that we hadn't seen yet. So, you know, um, we we were very lucky to have that appreciation modeled for us, and it's something that has definitely had a long lasting impact on my life. And that's something that we
Mhm.
really wanted to. I remember those conversations when we were coming up with these
Mhm.
stories. Like we were both very, uh, we both really wanted to make sure that was sort of the essence, the kicking off point of the
Yeah.
stories and the books.
Oh, okay. Well, look, see now you've totally derailed this, Jessica. Because now what I really want to see is like the Benoist family field trips. I want to somehow get a hold of those videos.
Oh, we have videos and we have
Oh,
lots of pictures. Jessica and I used to model like Vanna White in front of like national park signs and in caves. Yeah, we would always do this. I don't know why. Probably because we
I
were
have no
watching
idea.
Wheel of Fortune with our grandparents.
Yes, yes. Hmm. Yeah. And
Oh
there would be like
gosh. Okay, so to he.
the little like info signs, and we'd be like, she'd be like, "Do you want to take a picture?" And we'd be like, "Yeah." And we'd get up right up to the like little stone or the kiosk or sign or whatever, and we'd be like, "Yes."
Oh gosh.
Pretty
So
sure it's those pictures.
So then in that case, it's obvious then that you've already, you had the opportunity to really glean things from your family, and
Mm-hmm.
within this series, family family is complicated in this series, okay? Because I feel like in some regards, like how we saw in book one, family can kind of be the villain, but then at the same time, because of the pursuit of learning more about mother, family can also be the object of affection and desire and admiration. So, what are your thoughts on the complexity of family?
I mean, I don't know anyone whose family isn't complicated. And I think for
Mm,
young people, we need to trust more that they can understand and handle those kinds of subjects, especially in fiction. And um, I family is can simultaneously be the bane of your existence and the best thing in the world. And it's because you know these people so well. And specifically with sisters, like we've Jessica and I have known each other. She's known me since I was born, and so you know the things that help them, and then you also know the buttons to push, uh, whether it's conscious or not. And also, I just think that that speaks to something else that was really important to us in this series was addressing mental health. And we grew up in a family
mm,
that, for all its complexity, we always felt, I always felt, and I don't want to speak for you, Jess, but we just had a lot of support in the mental health space. Our mom would let us take mental health days, and our we just were supported in that way, and allowed to feel what we felt. And I
mm,
don't think that's always the case, but I know we really wanted to show how family affects your mental health, how they can support you, but also like derail you sometimes. I don't know, Jess, what do you think?
No, I think you're you're kind of hitting a lot of the points. I would just say in terms of the story, what I think we're looking at especially is this idea that maybe sometimes your family is a mystery, and
Mm,
um,
mm,
there may there as we see right in the beginning of the book and even right at the very end of book one, there's this person who is their family member who looks exactly like their mother. They don't know her at all.
mm,
So there is this idea of like, what does family mean? Does family mean that you know the person? And we have a lot of media that's really exploring that idea of found family, or what family means. It doesn't necessarily have to be biological. And I think we have one character, one of the sisters, that sort of latches on to this idea of biological family. Like, this is my mom's sister, so she's my family. And we have another sister who's taking more of the relationship approach. And so we find what this means, how someone joins your family, even if they're
mm,
biologically related. Like, you still have to accept them as part of your family.
mm.
And family means
mm,
different things to everyone, and how we
Yep.
approach our family. Some people really just, blood is family, and there's a lot of, traditional loyalty and duty and that type of thing. And then for some others it's not. And there's this, constant fostering of the relationships, and maybe they get just as much of that from non-biological relationships. And I think that there's kind of a balance between the two for most people. Um, but it's always worth examining it in the familial relationships in your life.
Hmm.
mm. Well, speaking of family, speaking of collaboration and working together, I see a question from Carla Azevedo in the chat that I think kind of ties into this thought. Because with your first book, you worked with Mariko Tamaki, right? Mariko participated, and this time around with this second book, it's only the two of you. So, what was the process like this time going around where it's just the two of you writing in that family element?
Well, this
Um,
time around, I it was really fun for me to see Jessica really run with it. And she had so many fantastic ideas that our collaboration this time around was, I felt like I got to see my sister's imagination just like explode on the page. And that was really
Wow.
and it was more like bouncing those ideas off of each other and me being like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, how did you even think of this? I'm always astounded by that, how someone can just build this world. Um, so yeah, that's really my vantage point, of getting to see my sister kind of um, have an imagination explosion.
no, that's a totally, I would never have put those words together, but that's actually really how it feels. And kind of what I would say about the collaboration always is like, especially in a world like this where we have this idea that the world is going to get bigger and bigger and there's all these people out there that are involved in it that we don't know yet, and we have these powers that have just infinite implications and can be used in all these really interesting ways. So that's my brain, like constant imagination explosion, where I'm just going, we could do this, and they could go here and here. And our editor is fantastic, and I think she really had a clear vision of like the elements that she wanted included and wanted us to really like focus in on. And between that and then just getting feedback from Melissa, and like it's this thing where I'm like calling her and texting her and sending her all these ideas, and then somebody has to say like, yeah, that's cool, let's do that.
Mm.
Otherwise I'd be trying to fit like 200 crazy ideas into one book and it wouldn't work. So yeah, it's definitely an explosion, that's for sure.
I love those two words together. Actually, imagination explosion. That needs to be on some T-shirt or something. That's fantastic. Uh, but it's funny because I feel like, and this is something that I'm curious about, but I'm also seeing a lot of questions in the chat kind of circulating around this idea of what is the working process between the two of you like, because you both have your own lanes, right? Like you both are kicking butt in both of your own specific realms and performing and writing. So how in the world do the two of you somehow mark a calendar or slate the time to either be together in person or to use technology to connect? What do you do? How does it work?
It's mostly technology because
Yeah, yeah.
also the two of us, on top of our careers, have small children. Jessica has a baby, and two other children. But um, it's, yeah, it's not always like it's never been like we can schedule this because our we're both so busy. But I think it's a lot of
Hmm.
it's organic in that way, that Jessica will like send me ideas that she has, and then I'll be able to like go off on my own and kind of dive into the world and read what she has. And uh, it's always like a little present that I get from her whenever she sends me stuff.
10 years ago, if like I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm gonna say because if you had asked me if I would say this 10 years ago, I would have gone, Psh. But like having a really detailed chapter outline is sort of a big important thing.
Hmm.
So I used to definitely, and you just can't do like if you're working with somebody else, you really just have to have it. When I'm working on my own, um, on much sillier books than this, I can kind of wing it. But really, it was sort of like we had to get this outline nailed, and we had to know exactly what had to happen in each chapter. And so it was those ideas and those ideas. until we really liked what it looked like on, two sheets of paper, um, just boiled down to the essence of it. And then it was really easy to be like, okay, here's the deadline. And so we're doing, this, and this by chapter, by this time. Very, very schedule-y for a non-schedule-y person like myself, but it worked.
Yeah, look, we see the fruits of your labor right
Yeah.
here. So this is evidence that sometimes, pushing outside of that comfort zone, you can really create a beautiful thing.
Well, and it
Now,
changed me because now I have to do that with everything. Like now all my other books, I'm like, wait, where's my chapter outline? Who's gonna help me with this?
well, see, I kind of wonder, since you've chosen to write in the fantasy genre with this, I'm imagining that because you've got these various characters, and as you mentioned, we're going to like different lands and different spaces, just even to keep track of all of that, the outline has to be something that's actually helpful in this genre, I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, it's super
Okay.
helpful. And
And so,
yeah, I just
hmm.
for a long time just thought I didn't need it, but I was wrong. But yeah, you have to, and especially like, you know, I always think I remember stuff too, and maybe it's just because I'm like getting older. I don't know, but I'll like as I'm kind of working on another book, and as I'm going like thinking of things just even for the outline part, I'm like, what color eyes did that person have? Like not like that's relevant for the outline, but
Mhm.
just seeing if I can pull it up, and I kind of almost need to have like a sheet that just has all the details in it.
Mm.
So yeah, it
Mhm.
is helpful to
Mhm.
have like this technology where we just get to stick it all in a shared document. And now I'm getting kind of obsessed with that, where it's just like put all these details in these documents for everyone to look at. It's probably annoying to her. I
No, not at all.
don't know.
I love that stuff.
and, and with that, it's funny because of technology, we're able to have this massive conversation where you've got all these people who are joining in and writing and talking with us at the exact same time, which leads me to think about how you two have created and are in the process of continuing to expand your own universe with these books. But once you put a piece of creativity out in the world at a certain point, it's no longer just yours. Like the fans own it as well, the readers own it, and they're going to be coming up with their own sort of like wikis and theories and all of that. Have you already started to see some of that percolate? And also, Melissa, I know that you've got more than a little bit of experience with working within properties where people already have preconceived notions and their own thoughts about. Have you started to see some of that take off yet with the powers?
I don't, you know
Not
what? I don't know if I have. Have
the
you,
main
Jess?
thing is just what I see a lot, like on Twitter especially, is and especially after this book, I think because we did introduce like so many more characters, people will have like their
Mm-hmm.
favorite character, and then they'll be like, I need a spin-off with this character, and my brain's like, yeah, what would that look like, And what are they like? What did they sort of what did they connect with in this character and what did they like? And that's always really fun for me to see. So that's mostly what I see is just sort of people being like, I need more of this character's story. And it maybe didn't even necessarily occur to me that that person would have like a backstory that was worthy of a story. But I love that people have that imagination, that imagination explosion just because of
Mm-hmm.
like they connect with a character. I got that a lot with Sadie in book two, and which is great because I really connected with that character a lot. Um, and we definitely do know she has sort of some stories in her backstory. So yeah, The other character that I think that got a lot of people's imaginations sort of going and a lot of people connected with was Finn. And that was sort of the same thing. Like we did sort of set up that Finn had an interesting story with their twin and their progression through the training camp. So I love that I can that that I can see where we took the time to plant the seeds that yes, this
Mm.
character does have this, a history that we're not going to go completely into, but then the readers do pick up on that and they're ready for the seeds to bloom. They're like, okay, tell me about it. Like, well, this book's not completely about them. It's about Parker and Ellie, but sure, how about you tell me about what you think happened? But I'm into
I
that.
think what you're saying is that we need a Sadie prequel.
I
There
I
you go.
think
There you
I'm here. Like I will write just all the books. Just all the books. Book for everyone.
um, I love it's funny, Melissa, because you're echoing what Moxie is saying in the chat. Moxie says Sadie and Barbara spinoff, and Moxie wrote it in all caps.
Yes.
Yes. Um,
That's what I'm
but
that's what
and
I'm
Jessica,
hearing.
while you're keeping notes, yes, while you're keeping these notes, Jessica, Tindra also wants an Arlo spinoff.
Oh my gosh, so do I. I love Arlo so much.
How ooh, writing a book from a dog's perspective. Okay.
I do enjoy the way that you write about Arlo. Like whenever you write about Arlo, putting the paws like and putting the head on the paws as though it's like posing for the portrait. You can see it's so visual.
We
Yeah.
every single one
Now,
of us wishes that we could hear what our dogs were thinking and saying.
Mhm.
oh gosh. Now we're gonna jump on over and ask you to read an excerpt from Haven Secret in a moment. But before we do that, I want to jump into a darker space for just a bit. Not too dark because, we're still talking about the powers, but there's darkness in here. So, the word and concept of danger is something that has a very strong significance and plays quite a huge role within the universe of these books. Can you break down for us, for those of us who are new, and some of us who are already very literate with these stories already, but the concept of danger, what does it mean in the space of the powers?
This the book two um, really explores that a lot, um, and we get some very interesting scenes um, where the girls are kind of almost given lessons on part of their training camp experience as they're learning. They also are learning sort of about this enemy and coming in contact with it all the time. And we figure out why that's happening, but we also see very clearly that the danger is this like living type thing that is springing up out of sort of this imbalance in nature. Um, and I really enjoyed exploring that concept and getting some concrete uh, words put to it and some ideas that sort of anchored it in the real world, but while keeping it this abstract, aloof type thing. Um,
Hmm.
it was really fun to play with that dynamic where it's still really mysterious, but we also get to know these sort of real world type details about it. But it's definitely I look at this book as exploring the idea of balance and how it shifts and the balance between the sisters and the implications of this imbalance that we sort of have going on in our natural world. Uh, and so that's I think the best way that I can explain it without giving like all the little details away. Um,
Mm. Yeah,
but
I think that's one of the most
yeah,
interesting things about it is that what we get to explore is that the danger, and Jessica put it so eloquently, with within the balance of nature, we're also exploring our almost like a symbiosis, or is that a word? Yeah. Um, like the connection that humans have to nature and how we directly affect it. So it is this like sort of cause and effect thing, and the danger arrives in these areas of imbalance. It's actually like my favorite part of the book is when they visit an area of imbalance for the first time, and the twins get to see this town that for all intents and purposes it's in a desert, but there's grass everywhere, and there's, people are watering their lawns. Where does that water come from? It's how we really are related to the natural world surrounding us and how our actions affect it.
When you talk about relating to the natural world, I feel like I got to give you some additional props because there's some real work that's also done in these books to also increase the vocabulary of the readers. So, for example, there's a whole passage in this book right here where you go into like what a harbor is and the difference, but like what a harbor is, but then also the different ways that you can also define a harbor in terms of like a safe space, but then also the water and everything. So I don't know. I don't have a question about that. I just wanted to give you some props about that since you just brought up the idea of the nature. Just wanted to, while we're here. Now, what I do also want to do now is I want to give you a moment in order to queue up, in order to pull up a passage for you to be able to share with everyone. And while you do that, I do want to address all the fans that are. There are some fans that are tuning in from from all over, from different places. So first off, thank you all for tuning in from where you're coming from. Some of you are sharing that you're having a little bit of technical difficulties where you're at. Maybe there's like a lag. Maybe wherever you're watching, but I do want to let you all know that it's all good. This is going to be available for you to rewatch after the stream ends. So you'll be able to replay this as many times as you want and watch this on demand. So thank you all for sticking with us and hanging on in there. Now, also, before we read this passage, I want to give a shout out. There's an Amazon customer named Luana Porto who actually wrote a review, who gave a review for this book. And here's what Luana had to say. I've been waiting patiently since 2021 for this book, and I'm honestly amazed with it. The story was incredible, and it gave me even more nostalgia vibes from Harry Potter, Magisterium, and Percy Jackson than the first one. They did an amazing job introducing diverse characters and representation without being forced, and very fluently. Can't wait for the next one! Exclamation point. Woo! Do you two want to say anything to, in case that Amazon customer Luana Porto happens to be tuning in live today? Anything you want to share?
that's a great review. Thank
That is
you.
so sweet. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
there's some heavy hitters there in that list
Hmm.
of the vibes, and that's I think that's
Yeah,
what we're going for is like that really that
totally.
idea of like not just a coming of age, but like entering this world. Like, yeah, that's totally what we were going for. Like, you're coming of age and you're realizing that you're part of this big big hidden society, see finding your place in the world, and then but we're looking at it in the lens of like finding your place in this magical world. Uh,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
definitely what we were looking to capture, and I think that's great. Um, that Luana that really resonated with her, and yeah, I'm always glad when I'm always it makes me feel fantastic. This isn't just about me, but I think Melissa would agree. Like, it feels great when we do decide that we want to introduce diverse representation, that it's great to get that feedback that people are noticing it and appreciating it, and they're connecting with it. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you know what we want as viewers, as readers, as fans. We want to be able to hear the words directly from your mouths. So, would you delight us all by reading a passage?
Yeah. So we kind of have like our pivotal scene here where the girls are in their first sort of class at the Sentry training summer training camp. And Finn, who is the instructor of their classes and the camp counselor, has just told them that the organization as a whole, the numbers are declining. Um, there there are not very many members left in the Sentry, which is this organization that Ellie and Parker are now a part of. And yeah, so we'll just jump right in. Why are there so few members? Ellie said. Finn shrugged. I wish I could figure it out. Best I can guess is people don't care about helping the world anymore. But then I sound like a cynical adult. They let out a tiny laugh, then sighed. What I want to believe is what my sister tells me when I ask her why she didn't join. She just felt like her powers weren't her true power, like this wasn't the path that was meant for her, and she could bring about more change if she followed her calling. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I need to gently remind Gabby for the 10th time this summer that flowers don't like to be pinched, even if it looks like you're making them talk. Finn smiled and took off toward Gabby at the opposite end of the table. That's sad about Aiden's twin, Parker whispered. Yeah, Ellie nodded. When he was giving us the tour, I thought I picked up on a sadness from him. It wasn't like anything I'd felt before. Can you jump in,
Can you do
Melissa?
the root thing? Parker asked Ellie. I think so, yeah, Ellie replied. Cool, Parker said, sliding two completed pots toward her, because that is not my specialty. Ellie put her hands on the side of Parker's first pot and closed her eyes, gathering her focus. But her concentration was immediately shattered by the sound of an explosion. She shot her eyes open to see a dark shadow slide over the greenhouse as a cloud covered the entire glass wall, blocking out the afternoon sun. Ellie let go of the pot and backed away from the table in confusion. Smash! A pane of greenhouse glass broke into 1,000 pieces, cascading like crystal rain onto the stone floor. Immediately, something started coming in through the broken window, a slick, inky tendril. One massive black arm, then another, coiled into the space, dancing and slithering like an eel. Whatever it was looked like a cross between a cloud and a giant squid, both smoky and solid, heavy and light, able to reach and stretch and float wherever it wished. The danger! Jules yelled as another pane of glass rained down from above. Ooh.
Okay. Look, since you guys can't hear the people clapping through the computer screens right now, I'm gonna clap on behalf of them. Wow. Okay, and I'm gonna be able to give you some quick, instant reviews, by the way, of your voice performances, friends. Let's see. Kelsey says, please record an audiobook. I would have it on repeat. Marina says, audiobook when we need it. Elvira says your voices are so soothing. M. Danton says that can listen to you read forever and ever. This is a treat. This is awesome. Especially with the sister to sister baton pass off right there. That was very well done. Now that particular passage right there, I feel like that was a great choice because we did get a chance to really get into some of the details. There's some of the world building, of course, in there as well too. But with the darkness, with the tentacles, with you know, with our villain, with our scary part also woven on in there. It seems as though you both kind of enjoy dipping into that dark side a bit.
Yeah, I
I,
think so.
yeah.
Jessica, to you guys, Jessica was the kid that all of her favorite Disney characters growing up were the villains.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, true. Where's my scar tribe at? I know you're there.
Yeah, Scar's just misunderstood.
This is
No,
no.
and I think that was absolutely necessary. When you read this book and you get to the end of it and you see what was going on, like there was no way we could have gotten to that point if we hadn't put ourselves in in that mindset, um, in a certain pair of shoes, and walked in that and felt what it was like. Like that was just sort of necessary for the way that this book pans out, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And by the way, the amount of reveals that we all are getting about each of you from each other during this stream is worth its own. It's worth tuning in alone for that. Now, you know, there's the there's the innate desire as soon as I read that this is a book about sisters, that this series dives into sister. There's the initial desire for me to wonder, okay, well, who's who, right? Like who's Parker and who's Ellie? Um, but I don't know. I'm curious about whether or not there is a like a direct analog of Melissa is Parker and Ellie is Jessica, or if there happens to instead be elements of each of you that are kind of woven in and layered on top of each one. Is that sentiment correct?
Yeah, I can't pinpoint which one I more relate to, and I think they're both sort of an amalgamation of the two of us, and not just us. I also think there are bits and pieces of our little sister Christina sprinkled into the two of them as well. But I can't pick one that I relate to more. I always really connected with, or wanted, I should say, Ellie's powers. I think it would be a dream to be able to speak to animals and control flora and fauna in that way, or be in touch with them. But I think, I also relate to Parker's impulsiveness, and I can be pretty fiery, and I think uh, both of us have aspects of both of them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. To the point that like when we were deciding, for the first audiobook who was going to read who, um, and we just sort of were always like, well, Melissa's Ellie because Melissa sort of came up with the talking animal thing, and like, so I always associated Melissa with Ellie, but then I didn't really feel like Parker completely represented me or I completely connected with every part of her. But actually, as I was reading her parts, her chapters for the audiobook, I really did like that sort of did connect me to her. And then I think as we wrote the second book, I felt like I should put a little bit more of myself in her, as we flesh the character out. And so I do feel like maybe she's my baby, my character baby, and I'm gonna maybe, I do this with a lot of my books. It's like there is a character or there's a couple characters that I'm gonna put a little bit more of myself in, um, just to sort of flesh out their characterization. And for me, I definitely feel like that's been Parker once I sort of had this um, connection with her when doing the audiobook.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for diving in a little bit more into, embracing the impulsivity, but then also like the thoughtfulness and the calculated nature of both of these characters, so we get a chance to see how they weave in together. Now, something that I want to see weave in together is your answers to a few Spitfire questions. So I'm going to toss these questions out. First things that come to your mind, let's just get them on out there. All right. First off, and this first one I'm going to direct to Jessica first, and then Melissa, I want to get yours. What's in your Amazon cart?
Oh my gosh, you guys. Um, these pillowcases that have tigers and peacocks on them. And I'm trying to decide if I'm just going to redo my entire living room based on these tiger and peacock pillows. So then there are a couple other things that go with it, like a beanbag chair for stuffed animals, because my children have hundreds of stuffed animals. So hit me up on Twitter. Tell me if I'm going to buy these
I say go for
gorgeous
it.
little. Yeah, they're like croquet. They've got like little leaves in the back. Just redoing an entire room for 2 pillowcases that I found on Amazon. That's a day in my life.
Sounds right. Yeah. My turn?
And then, so Melissa, are you also building a whole room around pillowcases?
No, you know what? I wish. My cart is full of toys. Toys, toys, toys. I have like a Brio farm train set, Magnetiles always, because you can't have enough of those. So all the expansion packs. But you know what? I actually do have a lot of books in my Amazon cart. I think right now, because I just finished a book and I'm in business for a new one, and I have the love songs of W.E.B. Du Bois in there, and a few children's books, one called Hot Dog and one the Caldecott Medal. Yeah.
They stay in your
Children's.
cart though, like
Yeah, because
with
my
books,
child
I
doesn't need
cannot.
that many toys.
Oh, what? No, I
Oh,
mean
you mean the books?
Like the books, that's a buy now for me. Like I cannot stop myself. If there's a book and I think I might read it or my kids might read it, I'm just like, yeah, just buy
That's
now.
usually my MO too, but like now I've gotten to a place where I won't buy it until I need something to read. Because otherwise I
That's
yeah.
true.
Okay, so when you talk about having these mountains of books, then does that mean are you both more actual like paper book readers, or are you also e-readers? It doesn't just depend on the title.
I morally and my conscience is always telling me like just be an e-reader, save the paper, but there is nothing better than having a physical book in front of you to me. But I do try to kind of find a balance, so that my inner conservationist doesn't feel bad.
Listen, I spread my TBR list neglect across all mediums. I have an ebook list that won't end. I have a physical book list that won't end, and I have an Audible list that won't end. I just keep adding to them. And someday, maybe I will just be able to read all day, every day, and I'll get through them. But, you know, so no, I do it all. Audiobooks, ebooks. I had a large collection of paper books, like from just my life before ebooks really were like gained a lot of popularity and ease of access, and books that other people have given me in the family and things like that. But I'm pretty equal across the board of paper versus ebook versus audio.
Gotcha. Well, you mentioned family, so now I got to know, What's your favorite family ritual? And Melissa, you can start off with this one, and then Jessica following up. Favorite family ritual?
um, I have two. I mean, I would say that what Jessica was talking about earlier, that we used to take these trips to national parks. I think exclusively that's where we did our family vacations. Like, pretty much, if we weren't going to Disneyland, we were in a national park. And it was mostly national parks
Mm.
because it's much more affordable. And I think those are some of my favorite family memories, being at Arches National Park and um, down in Arizona, or in Rocky Mountain National Park, or any of the number of parks that we went to. I have such fond memories of that, and that was, I think that's something we still do it when we're all together as a family, which sadly isn't as often anymore because we're all kind of spread out. But those are my favorite things that we do as a family. Um, is kind of immerse ourselves in nature. But then also we have a weird thing that we have chicken Alfredo pasta on Christmas Eve. And Jess, I don't know if you do it with your family. I guess
Oh
it's
yeah,
only a
yeah.
thing that we do when we're all together, because I didn't do it
Oh, I've done it.
the last two Christmases. But yeah, we do chicken Alfredo pasta for Christmas Eve, and it's delicious.
Isn't that
Okay.
didn't No, it's
Yeah, it's
good.
weird. It's really good. It makes sense.
I'm very into this. Like, I feel like there's never a bad time for chicken Alfredo. I just didn't. I didn't had not associated Christmas with it. But I feel like, especially if you're in a cold place, then like there's the warmth, the
Yeah,
creaminess of the. I'm into this.
yeah, 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 it makes sense. So that's a
Wow.
favorite family ritual of
Wow.
mine.
Yeah.
Sweet. And Jessica, what about you?
I would have to say family movie night. It's always been a big thing. Like we started it when Melissa and I were little, and I just, I think right at the beginning of the pandemic, or maybe a bit after, just kind of decided, you know what, like I need to start that with my kids. They're kind of at the age where I have a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. And it's just kind of like, well, they can watch a lot of the same movies. They're kind of at that age where they can both watch PG, and maybe even some of the older PG-13 that wasn't, quite so PG-13 yet. And there was just so much stuff that they hadn't seen that I was like, thought I had shown them. So I'm like, okay, I have this list of, movies that I'm going to make you watch. And so let's just set a time. And that was a big thing for us. And I feel like there were so many movies that I saw back in the Blockbuster days because we would just be like, we got to have something for family movie night, and we just go in and grab whatever. And now it's even easier because it's all streaming. So I can be like, think of just the most random, obscure movie that I watched as a kid and then force my kids to watch
This is the beauty of parenthood, right? You get a chance to
it.
really decide what's screening,
You get to
right?
curate.
You- Now, something that is a responsibility for me to do is I'm here to curate some of what's coming in through the chat and what gets to be shared with you all. It's been going at such a lightning pace, and I want to try my best to honor everyone who's been tuning on in today. So, Melissa and Jessica, I asked everyone to type on in where they're tuning in from. So, if you
Mm,
give me a moment, would you like me to just kind of like run through some of the cities and countries where folks are coming in from?
yeah,
Mhm.
please.
Sweet. Oh my gosh, look at this list. All right, now we've got, I see Brazil is represented, Mexico, Germany, Seattle, Sweden, Los Angeles,
Wow.
Colombia, Norway, France, England, New England, the Philippines, Guatemala, Ecuador, Finland, Australia, Wales, Venezuela. This is the Bay Area, France. Okay, this is Hong Kong is in the mix as well. Your works, your writing, your creations have jumped across the pond, back over the pond, down south, up north. It's really spread and gone on over all over the world. How does it feel? How does it feel to know that something that the two of you have just worked on that's been so personal has now found its way onto the shelves and or onto the e-readers and or into the ears of people from all around the world?
No words. It's the dream. I mean, it's really what you like, the pinnacle of what you hope for when you put a book out into the world.
Man, yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone,
Wow.
for picking it up and reading it and enjoying it and joining us here today.
Wow. Thank you. And thank the both of you for really taking the time to jump on in to share. Oh my goodness, people are still chiming on in. I see Arkansas and Mississippi and Berkeley are now in the mix as well, in the chat. But I do want to get maybe like one question. I know that the time is officially kind of ended, but if you're cool, if you have enough time for like maybe one or two questions, can we roll with that?
Yeah, I think.
Love that. Okay, so what's next? What is next for the two of you in terms of writing, and or could you share with us what's next, even outside of the realm of writing, something that as your fans we can get excited about?
Um, for me, where my brain is at right now is like, where do we go after book two? I definitely want to keep going with these characters. Not necessarily just Parker and Ellie, but definitely Parker and Ellie. Where book two leaves off, I think just opens up so many storytelling avenues and so many options for their relationship with each other, their relationship in their family, and their their place in this world that we got to be a part of in book two. So I'm really sort of sort of percolating the the ideas and the possibilities, and hopefully we get, some imagination explosions that I can you know put out there to the team of Melissa and our editor and the people at Abrams. And I'm really excited. I hope that people are wanting a book three for sure, because that's kind of where my brain has been. I think when this book came out, I just, I had some time after we finished writing and editing it to like just separate from it and wait till it came out. And then when it came out, I was like, okay, wait, I have ideas now. We got to keep this going. Yeah, that's where I'm at. As far as
Wonderful.
anything outside of writing or the powers, you know,
Mhm.
it's always tempting to work on a lot of projects at once. But as a writer, I think that's something that a lot of writers would say. But I'm really trying to focus on just letting uh, Parker and Ellie's story just, sort of sit and live in here.
Beautiful. And actually, when we're thinking about the powers, I know that it can be tempting for us all to want to figure out what happens next, what happens next, what happens next. Um, but at the very beginning of the book, you dedicate this book to your mother. So
Hmm.
I'm very curious about what role that your mom played in the passion for reading that you've clearly developed.
Oh, like 100%. I mean, we were a book family. We were a reading family. We still are.
Mm.
And for sure, like we were the kids that every single weekend we were at the library, and every single summer we were doing whatever book clubs and reading clubs we could be a part of. And if there was a book that we were interested in, we checked it out from the library or it was purchased. And, our family has always given books as gifts. And we were always encouraged to read for fun, um, and very much encouraged to like use books as tools for developing ourselves and developing our knowledge, and I think that's really important, and it's something that I'm trying to keep instilling in my own children, um, that there's so many of them, and it's such a great way to open up your mind and experience, just really an infinite amount of worlds and possibilities and stories.
Do you guys remember Dear Days in elementary school? Drop everything and read
Days.
days. My school did this
Oh,
thing called Dear,
yes.
drop everything and read. And for the whole day, you just got to sit and read. It was the best
We
day
Oh
ever.
man.
we
Oh
didn't call it that, but the elementary school that I went to before you started school, we had readathons,
Mm.
and they would literally let us
yes.
build forts in the gym. Like all the kids came into the gym, the gymnasium, and you could bring like pillows and blankets and snacks, and they would have tables and chairs out, and like you would build a little fort, and then you'd get in there and you would just read for fun for the entire day.
The best.
Great. They brought stack lunches in.
Oh,
It must have been a mess, but like we didn't even leave for lunch. They brought everybody like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and an apple for lunch. And you just sat there and ate while you were reading your book. I think I finished like one year. I think I finished like two whole chapter books. Great.
oh gosh, I think you're throwing it back for me because now I'm also remembering the excitement of whenever book fairs would come in, and you get a
Yeah.
chance to like visit the book fair, and you get the little paper catalog, and you get to circle what you
Hmm.
want to order. And then I remember, do you? I feel like there was some pizza chain that used to, if you read
Yeah.
over the summer or something, you could actually earn like a personal pan
Mm.
pizza based on the
Yeah.
amount of books you
Hmm.
The
read.
Pizza
book
is a
it.
great incentive.
Pizza Hut, book it. Uh-huh. And I
yes,
think some
yes,
Pizza
that's
Huts
what.
still do that. I think maybe.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well,
So
look, friends.
so
Oh, you know, wait, no,
if nothing
Melissa,
else,
I want to get.
no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, wait
oh
for the
no, no.
free
I was
pizza.
just gonna say. Yeah, right. It's funny. As soon as we say food, like now my mind we've drifted. But but Melissa, I wanted to give you a chance also to share with us what you've got coming up, anything that you want for all of our eyes to be trained upon in terms of what should we look forward to seeing and how can we support you later on.
Oh, well, I just finished shooting a new TV show called The Girls on the Bus. It was awesome. I loved it. I had a really, really great time. It will be on HBO Max. We don't have a release date yet, but everyone will know as soon as I know. And it's about four female political journalists following presidential hopefuls on the campaign trail, and they ultimately get involved in, uh, you know, uh, unexpectedly getting involved in trying to save our fragile democracy. So that was a really fun job, and I'm really excited for people to see that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And other than that, I'm just working on um, producing and trying to get things off the ground and uh, hanging out with my son.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations to both you, Jessica and Melissa, on all of your outside efforts, but also, of course, what we're here to celebrate today, your combined efforts. One random question that has populated in the chat throughout this morning, that I was just gonna look past, but Gabriel has been really, really assertive with re-asking it is, do you two listen to Taylor Swift?
You know what?
No.
I wish I could say that I do, but I don't. The few Taylor Swift songs, it's not for lack of liking her. Like, I have a lot of respect
Right,
for her and I
right.
think she's a great artist. I've just never gotten into it. Except I do like her songs that she does with The National. Or maybe there's only one.
Oh,
Because I love The National. They're one of my favorite bands.
okay, beautiful.
I
It's so funny. Marina in the chats. Oh, go for it, Jessica.
oh, every time I hear one, I like it, but I'm terrible at like going out and finding new music. But
Mm.
You Need to Calm Down is on like most of my playlists, so I do like that one. Does that count?
That's great. Oh well. Thank you both for answering a question that the who knew that the internet really needed to know your thoughts on Taylor. But there you go. We've satisfied today. We've done it. Appreciate you both. Well, everyone. I'm gonna make sure that the two of you get the final word on this chat for today. So I'll just say my last few things real quick. Everybody, thank you for joining on in for the interview. In order to join in with this chat, we see that you've tuned in from all over the world. You've had amazing questions that have come on through, and I can only imagine how awesome Melissa and Jessica must feel to have you here, because I feel great that y'all are here myself. Don't forget to check out Haven's Legacy, which is available in the carousel today. Melissa and Jessica, you two are legit, so thank you for joining us. Everybody else, click that follow button for notifications for more author series live Q&As that are going to be coming up. I'm Albert Lawrence. I'm saying goodbye, but don't click off just yet, because now Melissa and Jessica, I want you two to say the final goodbyes.
Goodbye. Oh, thank you so much. This is always a blast. This is so much fun. I love doing these types of things, and it was fantastic to meet you, Albert. And thank you for these questions and hosting this conversation and truly making me very hungry for pizza.
Yeah,
So I'll go
thank you
do
so
that.
much, Albert. And this was so fun. It's always a joy to talk about these books, because it is such a labor of love and obviously very personal to us. And make sure you check the book out.